Hello, and welcome back to the Random Horror Show. I am your horror podcast hostess, Keisha Lacey, coming straight up out of East Texas, aka the I'm Pine Curtain. And of course, this is our fantasy genre, for this month since we are in Pisces season. I am a Pisces. My birthday, March 13th. Hint, hint. Throw some birthday shout outs on my Instagram at Texas Horror Babe or the Random Horror Show on Facebook. Just letting you know. I hope y'all are doing alright. And for those who are Pisces, happy birthday from me and all the Pisces all around the world. Sending you loves and hugs and well wishes and everything else, making your dreams come true and hoping everything that you are in line with. Since we are 5.2% of the world's population, we are some rare people indeed. You ever come across a Pisces, tell them that they're special. It makes their day. Shit, just what I'm saying. But we are in the fantasy genre right now of the Random Horror Show. And I got like this dumpster fire of this terrible ass fantasy action movie that it has. If you like tits and ass, it has plenty of it. If you just don't care about the acting, it's there for you. Um, Loose, fart, wet, shitty diaper storyline. It got you. And guess what? It was produced by Roger Corman, which he is uncredited in this movie. Now, the movie that I'm talking about is Sorceress. But I'm gonna let y'all guys know something about this and shit. Do you know this is actually the kickoff? Everybody thinks it's Conan the Barbarian that kicked all this off in the 80s. It was actually Sorceress. And I was doing, of course, I do research because y'all be thinking I'll just be talking just out of my ass about stuff. No, I actually did my research on this. Sorcerer. You know how as black folks are, we gonna have to stick an S in every damn word. Just like Walmart, and some people say Walmarts, and I'm just like, what? What is Walmarts like that? But I didn't got to saying stuff like that. I'm like, man, come on now, you know better than that. And I used to get on people like, why you keep putting ass on so many things? It's not. Well, I did Sam's Club do it. It's not Targets. It's Target or Target. But, anyways, Sorceress is actually the movie that kicked off all the fantasy action movies before Conan. Conan came out in May. And then also I did a comparison of Beastmaster, which Beastmaster came out in August. Now, I'm going to say it like this. The way how this script was written, it was just slopped together. Um, you might hear some discrepancies, like in the podcast when I was comparing Beastmaster to Sorceress, and then I looked, I was like, oh holy crap! You know what? They fucking started it. They started the Sorceress. Like Roger Corman actually started this. He started that whole, you know, we gonna have like the chicks with the tits and ass out. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Roger Corman, and they don't call him the pop like indie cinema director for nothing. But truth be told, it was Roger Corman. But the budget for Sorceress was $500,000. It got like shitty box office like reviews, and the box office like turnout was $4 million. Now, Conan the Barbarian and like Beastmaster had like a very healthy box office budget. But I think what it was with this movie is that, yeah, the production was terrible. There was a lot of crazy things that happened on the set. Jack Hill, who directed this movie, he is credited, but he was taken off because there was some beef between him and Roger Corman, and so Roger Corman took two of his sons' names and like threw them together. It's like, oh yeah, this Brian dude, Stewart dude, or Stewart Brian dude. I think that's what he did. Yeah, that's what he did. I think it's like Stewart Brian Stewart or something like that, or Stewart Brian. Um, you can look it up. Directed this movie, and it wasn't that person. It was actually Jack Hill. But truth be told, Jack Hill did direct this movie, and I am like shooketh that this is the first, kind of like the kickoff. I guess you have to have a failure to have like success. You had Conan the Barbarian that came out in May, and the same year, all three of these movies came out in the same year of 1982. Now, I watched Conan the Barbarian as a child and Beastmaster, and that will always be my favorite fantasy movies. But with Sorceress, it's so terrible. But now I have like a respect for this movie. It's boring. It's terrible. Um, Gee golly whiz. I mean, it's that bad, but it's that horrible. But now I have a respect for it because it's actually the first, of the kickoff, and I thought that this was just like, just how you have franchises and they always do, try to copycat each other and shit like that. But and it is a very terrible, terrible storyline, a very terrible, terrible script, terrible writing. But now just looking at it, it is the first of like the whole kickoff of all this, and I'm just gonna give like that credit for it because it was like actually the first of all of like the fantasy movies that came out in that time period. I mean, even Dark Crystal came out, you know, and that was from Jim Henson's production of like with the Muppets and things like that. And I love that movie too. Very, very dark. A lot of 80s children's movies were very dark. I mean, even Return to Oz was very dark. And it is by Disney, but I don't. Disney was kind of like, ooh, I don't know. This is not our family friendly image and everything of having like a dark children's movie, which is Return to Oz. Lead actress who played it is very Farazula Balk, who we all know as, Nancy off of The Craft. And yeah, like I was like, I'm seriously, I am shooketh. But you can listen to the rest of the show and you're going to hear me talking, about it, but I'm just want to clarify on some things that Sorceress is the first of the kickoff of all of this and everything. Um, it is actually not even a copycat of Conan and Beastmaster, and I like do apologize for that. Even though it's a shitty, fucked up movie and it's just bad, 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 but Sorcerers, I'm just gonna say, you know, thank you. Thank you. Sometimes we look over bullshit. We look over shit like that. We look over things like that. Because it's some movie or something that we watched, it was like so superior, and then we come to find out and do some dig deeping and shit, and we're just like, what? This is actually the first of such and such, and what? How did I miss that? It's one of those that you have missed. trust me, this is something that we deliberately missed because of Arnold Schwarzenegger becoming a big, huge action star. And then we have Mark Singer, who moved on to doing other movies, and also he was very big on the series V, which is the science fiction show of like the lizard people coming on Earth to like destroy us and make us slaves. Um, but the one thing that I like, I'm just gonna explain it about like sources is that, you know, this is I'm doing this right now, and this is like my own total thoughts on this, is that, and it's probably an unpopular opinion, but I don't give a fuck about people's opinions, just like we all have assholes. Is the reason why it did not do very well, not just because of script, things like that. The acting and everything is very terrible. It's because it had two women that were like leads. There was two leads, which is Lynn and Lynette Harris, and they were Playboy playmates. And so guess what? You think like people are going to take a playmate serious, especially two of them when they seen him in Playboy, posing, type of thing, and you think they're gonna take them seriously? No, they're not. They are definitely not. And you know what? Kind of look at it like this and everything. I'm giving Roger Corman some credit with this shit because he actually did go out on a limb with this movie and stuff, even though he's uncredited and he didn't want his name to be on the credits, and being the producer of this film. But now, just seeing it from a different light and everything, he was like ahead of his time with this movie. Um, you know, especially like casting like Playboy playmates, centerfolds in this. They're pretty. I'm gonna tell you, they're very, very pretty. And I was just like, dang. It's like, see the shit right there? The shit right there that you have to do your research on, and I'm just like, what? See? Like I said, I'm gonna give the credit of this movie of being the first, and also like to have like two Playboy playmate centerfold models starring in this film. And then you had like Grace Jones and Conan the Destroyer. I loved her and everything. I was waiting for like that another like fantasy movie. It has like a black woman in it. I mean, I cut my hair when I was 8 years old. I told my mom like, cut my hair like Grace Jones, because I looked up to Grace Jones and she still rocks that fade that she has. She has beauty. She has grace. That's the reason why her name is Grace. And she had like that confidence, that sex appeal, and everything else. And I know like people used to make fun of her and think she was ugly and she looked like a boy and stuff. But you know what? I got made fun of being a boy and everything. But damn, um, Grace Jones show wasn't no boy looking at me and everything. I thought she was just very beautiful, and I didn't know she was a model and a singer also. I didn't know she was going out with Dolph Lundgren at the time too. And I was like, damn, she was the shit. I still think she is the shit. So there it is. I love it. Introducing Miss Grace Jones. But like, yeah, like during that time I was like really like waiting for more fantasy movies with like another black actress and everything. We didn't get that, and that's been in 1982. But then, of course, we got Angela Bassett, who was in Critters 4 in science fiction. So I was like, wow, Hollywood be fucking tripping. But enough of that right there. So, no further ado, is we're going to be talking about Sorceress with starring Leigh and Lynette. That is so hard. Harris, um, into this fantasy action movie. And boy, it is terrible as shit. Bad acting. But like I said, if you like titties, this movie is for you. Alright, we'll be back with our sponsor for Anchor FM. Alright, how y'all doing? We are back with the Random Horror Show with tonight's podcast of Sorceress-1982 film. They were riding on the coattails of Conan the Barbarian and Beastmaster. Like, fantasy movies was like really, really big back in the 80s. I mean, even you had The Dark Crystal is from Jim Henson. Was a fantasy movie that used live puppetry and all sorts of magic from the Henson, world. And Frank Oz did I believe Frank Oz did the voice of Agra. Agra? Hmm. Gelfling? Hmm. And you had Lady Hawk, you had Conan the Destroyer. I mean, there was like tons and tons of fantasy movies. Tons of them. Like, some of them are lost. Um, I know, like, fantasy movies, like, they started, I guess it started to pick up a little bit more, like, in the 80s. Of course, like, Conan the Barbarian, is an old, like, story. I forgot the author's name, but, started back, like, in the 1930s. And, there were comic books about Conan. But it was like really building up the fantasy lore of like this Hyperion barbarian, and he comes from like this distant part of like the barbarians that was like once before, but he's like still kind of like, I am the last one, kind of like the Highlander, like there can be only one. But a lot of times, like with fantasy movies, you have your sorcerers, your wizards, your barbarians, your fairy maiden ladies, and of course, lots of tit and ass up in this bitch. But Sorcerer was produced by Roger Corman. Roger Corman was not happy about the production. He was not happy with even the director. Now, Jack Hill directed Sorcerer, and he was just like, this dude right here. He did have like another uh guy to come in to direct the film, but that was some script scrap right there. Now, little tidbit right here. There is a character named Pando. Pando is a satyr, and Sid Haig was to originally play Pando. Well, Roger Corman's like, I'm not paying Sid Haig's uh, salary, his pay scale. And for those who know about Sid Haig, he was in House of a Thousand Corpse. I mean, he was the man in a lot of Rob Zombie's movies. Sadly, he passed away a year or two back, I believe. I think it was last year or 2020. He passed away. He is dearly, dearly missed. But yeah, he was going to be the satyr named Pando in this movie. Now, Sorcerer is a big, huge, floppy dick fantasy movie. And it stars two, not one, but two ladies. They were actually Playboy playmates, Lynette and Leigh. I forgot their last names. That is so sad when I forget their last names and stuff. But they were Playboy playmates. Now they did do a movie together again. Harris, that's their name. Leigh Lynette Harris. Blah. It's kind of hard. Now they were like Playboy playmates, and I believe the last movie that they did together was like in the 90s. It was some other movie that they did. I forgot. It was like not well known. But this movie right here is about well, the story goes is that they're twins, their mom had them, their father, which is actually this is basically a movie about a deadbeat dad that just don't want to pay child support on his two children. So he's going to sacrifice the firstborn so he can gain all these magical powers from the god or the deity that he is praising. Caligula, Calistrio, something like that. But their deadbeat daddy, who is a wizard or sorcerer, he is not even like really like they make him to be like this super evil guy, but he really is not an evil guy. I mean, this dude is not even mediocre evil. He's just corny and just silly with his demands. He's just um I know the actor did his best to like act as like their deadbeat wizard dad, but it just didn't happen like that. It really didn't. It was like silly. It was very, very silly. And like there was like a part of where in this movie of where you see a lot of the scenes, a lot of the locations. The locations did take place in Mexico and parts of the United States to give it that really rough, back in sorcery and like wizarding times. Now there was a lot of extras there. There was in Mexico, and you can tell and everything. And I know they worked their asses off of being, and I'm gonna say it like this: the extras and the background people actually did a better fucking job of the actors themselves, because they put on that that they really caught the tone of like this movie. They really caught it to where it's back in those ages of like magic. They really did do their job of doing this, and they did a damn good job. And I'm telling you, they acted a hell of a lot professional than the actors themselves. Now Lynette and Leigh, they're like I said, they're Playboy playmates, and they play the characters Mara and Mira. Um, they actually did a basic job of learning on the fighting skills. Um, I can tell because I was looking at the action part of it when they were fighting, and I said, well, they did pay attention, and I'm not saying it because like, oh, they're Playboy playmates. Like, I really like truly respect like playmates and everything. I wanted to be one myself when I was growing up. And a lot of times, you back in those days, you did have actresses or playmate play models that did act. Um, they did do that, and I was like, damn, they really did. I could tell they really did want this film. Both of them want this film to be very successful. I mean, you could tell they put in the work with the action fight scenes. You can tell they practice a lot and everything. And I'm just gonna say I give that to them because they really did. And I was like, oh shit, that's not bad of them to do that and stuff because they did take it very seriously. Now the acting part on both of them, um, it was okay. You could tell it's their first one. You could tell like really they didn't have like an acting coach to like help them out. And if they did, the dude sucked ass or he or she sucked ass because a lot of times they were like either look like they're spooked or they were surprised or they were confused. And the confusing part, like with them to be like, oh, we didn't know we were women, because in the premise of it all is that when their deadbeat ass like wizard father like killed them, Cronus came and he merged two of their powers as one, and he told the peasant guy that he found to take care of the girls, but to tell them that they're really boys. Now I can see like where they had that face like, oh, what? I'm confused because they thought they were boys. And so that was the whole thing right there. So their father, their deadbeat ass dad, would not find them and let them think that they're been boys all along. No, this is not some gender bending or whatever like that. This is more of like the whole story of them to conceal their identity that they are girls, and that their father is a very, very powerful wizard. Supposedly, I'm just like really like shittily air quoting on how powerful their father is. And so they grew up. They found out that they were girls. Their father found out, that they're alive, and there's the story how it goes. But it's one of the shittiest, cheaply made movies. And like I said, it is produced by Roger Corman. He was just so upset with Jack Hill is that where he took both of his sons' names and put it like as the director for this film, because he was just so upset with Jack Hill. I mean, they had so many set problems too, where it was like one of the couple of the sets, got set on fire. It caught on fire really. It just seems like kind of like a running thing with Roger Corman, especially whenever when I did The Terror, and I was explaining, and this is probably the reason why fire was not used in the last act of The Terror, is because it would have been way too much damage, and also that poses a safety. I mean, even though water poses a safety, and it made very much sense for Jack Nicholson to tell Roger like, hey, let's use water, because guess what? His castle is right by the ocean and right by the sea and everything, so it makes much sense to flood the crypt instead of like setting it on fire. Well, I wish Roger Corman would have like thought about that a little bit soon, but then again, I don't know. I wasn't on the set, and plus I was 4 years old at the time, so oh well. Um, but it was just so many huge issues. You had like weather issues with um filming this movie. I even noticed that like when Mara and Mira were swimming in the little pond and everything, and this is where they meet Pando the first time. I noticed both of their shoulders were burnt, and though them being very blonde and blue eyed and with pale skin, I was like, y'all need to take care of that. And I know both of them girls were like really, really hurt because they didn't have like sunblock. And I think like for the location person that seeks out these locations and everything did not do a very good job of seeking location for filming, and also not really prepping people for the weather conditions of Mexico. It's basically hot. It's very have mild to humid temperatures there. I mean, these ladies right here, they pose for Playboy and everything else. And they're not worrying about like, oh, we're gonna get sunburnt, but they were very, very sunburnt on their shoulders from all of the acting and also shooting those scenes. And of course, scenes in a movie, they don't like, they are filmed, out of, the sequence of like how they put it together. So this is like a sequence that may have been used when they were doing the swimming hole scene and meeting Pando for the first time. They probably got sunburnt, and then later on within the movie, if we when we see the movie and everything, they look fine. They don't look very sunburnt. They don't look very stressed either. And the special effects of what they used was basically some shit that I seen on Buck Rogers, with the lights, and they even had like this. They had that Scooby Doo like special like effects sound, and if y'all remember, like when somebody like throws something, it's like shwiek, just like that. You hear that shwiek, you know, sound effect. And I was like, this is giving me Scooby Doo vibes, and it's actually a Scooby Doo sound clip of like special effect, not a special effect, but a sound that they use. And I was like, that's from Scooby do because they used that. And I'm just like, let me hear that again. It kept running again whenever they kept throwing the spears. They also like did the where they are shooting arrows, and I'm just like, this is so Scooby Doo right here. So they really did just think that nobody won't notice that that sound effect that has been used so many times, like on Scooby Doo, that nobody is not going to notice. Guess what? I noticed it, and probably a lot of people too. Another thing is that talking about the special effects and stuff is that the power that damn, I forgot that homeboy name. I just said his name. It starts with a Z. Well, he told the twins to like use and call on this name of this like powerful deity god that they, worship, that he worships and everything else too. And it's this lion that is thick, like it's been to the gym, and it has dragon wings. And you can tell that somebody uh looks like somebody was in their bedroom and they just turn off the lights. They bought a bunch of like glow stickers from, Five and Below or the dollar store or Walmart or whatever, and they stuck them on their wall, and they like maybe like painted it black, their wall black or something like that, and they just dressed up it all in black. And they just like took their little camera and they did like a foam, like poly, just a poly foam of like this deity god that's like a, part lion and part dragon with the dragon wings, and just stuffed their hand like in the puppet, and they're just like "Arr, arr, arr." I mean, basically it looked like Tony the Tiger's cousin that went through a very traumatic gene splicing experiment. That's how this supposedly this force of like good of what the twins called on, um that's what that was their savior. And I was just like, what in the bejesus hell is this right here? And then Caligula, whatever that thing is name. It was just basically a woman. She had like a black turtleneck. They just threw some Halloween, spirit of Halloween prosthetics on her face. Just teased her hair up, and she looked like a Karen that's like, may I speak to your manager? And she was just shooting like little fire and stuff out of her face or eyes, I don't know, eyeballs or whatever. And I was like, this is so poorly made. And I was like, I see why Roger Corman just basically just like gave up. And he was not even credited. Roger Corman was not credited for this movie. He really wasn't. He produced this movie, but he was not credited. He didn't even credit Jack Hill, even though you can look it up and see Jack Hill name is on there, but there is another name. Like I said, Roger Corman was just so pissed at it and everything else. He just took his son's name and just put it together, and there it is. That was their director, but it was actually Jack Hill who directed it. And I mean, the like whole, you could just tell it's been like a fiasco from the beginning to the end with this movie. Now, one part I'm going to part out is the tits and the ass, and you're gonna see lots of tits and ass in this movie. If you don't care about how crappy this movie is, and you just want to see some boobs and some ass and everything, this is like your movie right here. And the reason why they stuck all that in, you remember Tanya Roberts when she was in Beastmaster, she played Kiri. And when, Mark Singer's character seen her, of course, waddling in the pool, the same thing that they used in Beastmaster. I don't know when Beastmaster came out. I know Sources came out. Let me look. Beastmaster. But Beastmaster came out in the same year as Sorcerers. And so, like I was saying, in that part where Mark Singer's character, he's seen Kiri played by the late Tanya Roberts and her another slave girl that was out there, bathing and everything. And so he like, despite he like hatched this plan, to his leopard and saying like, hey, like pretend you're attacking me and all that stuff, because he talked to animals and because he's seen Kira like butt naked and everything and her friend, they did like that same type of thing, with sorcerers with the twins, but instead of a man, they just like say we're just gonna put it's like we're gonna kill two birds with one stone. We're gonna have a satyr doing this right here. But with the satyr, which is played, Pando is the name, you know, they see, Pando, they never seen a satyr before. It's half, what a satyr is. It's like half man, half goat. Plays a pan flute, and he watches him, and he gets all excited. And I'm telling you, he got very excited because he like popped their satyr boner, seeing both of those. And I'm just kind of scratching my head on that, and I was like, why does this scene look so much like, why does this scene look so much like Beastmaster? But the thing of it is that Sorcerers came out in March of 2000, not 2000, I'm sorry, 1982, as well as Beastmaster came out, I believe, like November of 2000, November, I keep saying 2000. No, Beastmaster actually came out in theaters in August of 1982. And like Beastmaster actually have a box office like budget of what they made is $14 million. And like Beastmaster was taken, Beastmaster was filmed like in parts of California. The difference is with Beastmaster and this stuff is that you actually like had a really like solid origin story of how Dar became about with being a Beastmaster and things like that. While even though, but you got to think about this is like Roger Corman movies, and sometimes Roger Corman movies is more of like that pop culture. Even though Roger Corman came out with Sorceress and before Beastmaster, I'm gonna tell you the reason why is because their budget was like $500,000, and Roger Corman is known to be more of like just throwing it out there, but he actually puts a lot of effort of like how he does his movies. But guess what? The box office, what they made off of Sorceress, like in the theaters, is $4 million. So Beastmaster like outbeat Sorceress, like just beat them like 10, like just wow. I'm shooketh right there. But that's like really interesting because I didn't even know that this movie came out before Beastmaster. So I got to thinking about it and everything is because when I look at like, and I'm just gonna say it like this, when I look at the artwork I like it. Very very. There's two different artworks for Sorceress. There's also like artwork with Beastmaster, and I believe that like with Beastmaster, um the artwork for it, the theater marquee, the movie marquee that they have the poster and stuff, I believe that is what set it off for Beastmaster to like actually have had the success of what it had. And then you also have Mark Singer and Tanya Roberts, Rip Torn, and John Amos. And everybody can, like know who John Amos is. He was on Roots. He also played the father on Good Times, with JJ and all that, Florida Evans, and all them. And then you had Tanya Roberts, went on to like play one of the Bond girls in with Roger Moore. Mark Singer was coming up himself and everything in acting, and I believe it was like the way how it was marketed with both movies, because this one had much more success and came out in the same year but later on in the months, while you will think like the Sorceress would have had like some type of success, but it was just, I mean, if you like, but it was, I think it was just more of the scenes, because if you think about like how Beastmaster, I'm going to compare both of the two of these movies, and I'm glad I'm talking about both of them. From Sorcerer, you had, it would have been really, really a really good, a pretty good like fantasy action movie, but I think it's the way how it was back then to like, see like two playmate Playboy models and they're, fighting swords and stuff. And for some people, they probably think like, that's absurd. But when you had Red Sonja, Bridget Nielsen, Bridget Nielsen was like a very famous model. She was, she was very tall, leggy, and everything else and stuff like that. And she was Sylvester Stallone's girlfriend at the time. I think that's like, even though Red Sonja was like a box office bomb, people still like Red Sonja. And also, like, Red Sonja is part of the Conan Barbarian Hyperion world also. And I think that's the reason why, with the two differences of like Red Sonja, and then just comparing it for like for movies to be female, and then in the fantasy realm of it and everything, is that one was like a very solid one, because that's actually a character that you can recognize, because Red Sonja has been in comic books and things like that and around Conan, while these two, Mira and Mara, it's like, let's just make up a story about these two twin girls, make it like they, confused, and that they think they're boys, but they're actually, their dad is like this powerful sorcerer, um, that's trying to kill the firstborn and everything. And I think it was like the way how you had all these characters in Sorcerers was just did not make any sense whatsoever. And you're just like, how is a satyr going to be in this realm of the fantasy? Yes, there's magic and things like that, but where does a satyr falls in place with this? See, that's like kind of like the confusing part right there, is throwing a satyr. I think if they would have threw in supposedly a creature like that, I think they would have went for something like a imp or a troll, or something like that is part of that realm, because like if you think about like how satyrs are, and satyrs usually like in Greek mythology, or something like you see in Narnia when the actor James Avoy, who played Mr. Thomas on Narnia. That is like a satyr to like belong in a room, or even in Harry Potter, because you can like may find like a satyr in the Harry Potter universe. But fitting it in with this and everything, it just didn't make any sense whatsoever. Now there was a character named Hanunu, is like a monkey man, and it was the guy who played Hanunu. He studied how apes move and everything. He did a fabulous job. I mean, even the guy who played um, Pando, the satyr, he did a fabulous job too. I mean, he didn't even say nothing. It was just his presence. And by the way, his mask, I think they did a really shitty ass job with his satyr mask, because I felt if you would have just created that satyr look with lots of hair, spirit gum, you name it. I was in I did theater makeup. I had to make a beard and everything else. That's how a lot of beards are made, with spirit gum and mesh and shit like that, and hair. If they would have like really put the effort and time with the satyr look and made him look more realistic, I think that would have like been a very memorable character right there. I mean, even like with Hanunu, you know that's a guy in a monkey suit. But when I start to see like how this guy like actually took the time to like pay attention to apes, he mimicked how their movements are and everything else, and I was like, well, that's the reason why I like him. I remember, and that seems more memorable to me of Hanunu and Pando. And it's not because they were, non-human characters in this movie. It's because of like you have characters that don't even have like a lot of speaking parts or whatever. It doesn't even matter if it's human or CGI or whatever like that. There's like a certain je ne sais quoi that they give out when they doing these characters. And you could tell those are the actors right there that actually paid attention and understood the assignment. And I mean, like I said, this movie, if you want to watch it and stuff, be my guest. If you like tits and ass, this is like kind of like, having like the soft core. It was kind of like a soft, not really soft core porn, but it was just more of like T&A for like the 14-year-old boy at 14, 15, 16-year-old teenage boy that say, hey, I want to watch this movie, man. It's got these chicks in here fighting, and he doesn't really just does not care about like the whole movie material. He just know he's just gonna see some tits and ass in this movie, and that's basically what they give you. I mean, even to the part of where they deadbeat ass like wizard sorcerer dad and shit raise the dead to like fight off in the last stage of like this movie. And guess what? The dead people like seeing all the good looking maidens and stuff. Shit, they say fuck fighting and everything. We finna get us some coochie and everything. So they like towed them off to go get some ass and everything. I was like, God dang. And it was funny, but it was just like a head scratcher moment because this powerful person, their deadbeat ass like daddy and shit, killed their mom and everything so he can like avoid child support payments for 20 years and everything. Supposedly he's supposed to went off somewhere whenever the mom stuck the knife in him in the beginning of the movie. He disappeared somewhere into some kind of like magical prison or some shit like that. Nah, that fool was like avoiding child support for them girls. He was avoiding child support. And he's supposed to be this powerful that when he raised this dead up, I think I was like half-ass asleep just watching it. And I kind of, did that. And I'm just like, hold up, are those dead people supposed to be fighting them? Or they're not supposed to be getting all excited because they see some live coochie and everything. And they just said, fuck fighting. We're gonna be fucking. That's basically what they did. And that didn't even make no tons of sense right there. And they just let it just go like it is. And I was just like, y'all could have edited that or pieced something together to... Because the dead people were supposed to be fighting. They just fought for a little bit and then they say, Coochie, I'm gone. That's what they did. Coochie, I'm gone. Fuck this fighting. Let the live people fight. We're getting us some coochie because we've been dead for a long ass time. But if you really, this is not only a bad movie, this is a terrible ass movie. This movie is terrible as shit. But those are my thoughts on Sorceress. And it's just a terrible ass movie. It really is. It's terrible, terrible. The milk's gone bad. Give it 2 thumbs down and 2 titties down. That's pretty much what it is. But like I said, if you want to see some, some old school Playboy playmates, on their first acting, movie, and you appreciate the female form. Um, don't give a shit about what the story is about. Don't care about the dialogue, because please don't care about the dialogue. I mean, even the guy that was supposed to be leading the army and stuff, his acting was so wooden. It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. But if you care about tits and ass, that's all you care for, this movie is for you. If you like your fantasy movies to just don't make any sense, and it's produced by Roger Corman, that is uncredited in this movie, um, go ahead and watch it. It's one of those. This is not a C-rated movie. This is more like a D minus movie, and I didn't know movies can go down into the letters and shit, but I'm just gonna give this motherfucker a D minus. Only thing that I liked about it was the two non-acting, the two non-human characters in this movie. That's it. But that's enough of my time. Thank you for listening to the Random Horror Show. Um, just doing a just doing something a little different, because I do cover the fantasy genre in this show. And I'm Keisha Lacey, and thank you for listening, and y'all have a great night.